Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our UC Berkeley virtual campus visit. We're so excited to have you here today. You could choose to do anything with your hour this morning, and you're choosing to be with us. So we really are appreciative of that and so grateful for your time. With that, we'll get started. I'm just going to introduce myself really fast. I will be your moderator today. I'll be talking a little bit at the beginning, and then I'll be hopping on towards the end during our Q&A. But I will not be giving your tour today. That will be the lovely Raven and Sara, who I will introduce in a little bit. But my name is Kaelyn. I am a senior here at Berkeley, which is crazy. I'm going into my last year already. I can't believe it. I use she, her, and hers pronouns. I'm from the town of Ojai, California, which for those of you who don't know is in Southern California near Santa Barbara, or quite a bit north of LA. I study geography, and I'm also getting a certificate in entrepreneurship and technology. So if you have any questions, send them along and I'll do my best to answer them. A little bit about me beyond being a campus ambassador. I've kind of meandered my way throughout Cal. I have just done a lot of different stuff in student government and community service, but I've had an absolute wonderful time. I try to get as much as I can out of Cal, and I'm really grateful for my experiences. With that, we'll move into a little bit of housekeeping. This is a virtual visit. You all are here to see us present to you virtually. It is a 45-minute presentation. Please type any and all questions you have in our Q&A. You will notice the chat is disabled for you, so if you have any questions, any comments, type those in the Q&A. Along with the three of us that are going to be on screen, we'll have a wonderful panel of back-end ambassadors who are super excited to answer your questions, all from a different range of perspectives. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions you might have. We're super excited to answer them. There will be polls launching throughout this tour, so please make sure to answer those. It kind of gives us a better idea of who you are, and maybe our tour guides can cater the tour a little bit more towards you if we know who we're dealing with. This will be recorded, and there's a different version available on our website. So please check that out if you have any lingering questions, any concerns, or you just want to see more perspectives. This is a campus overview from the student perspective, meaning there will be no admissions or financial aid information during this presentation. There is a separate admissions presentation. I encourage any of you who are applying to college this year, register for that as soon as possible. If you need the link, we got you, we'll send it to you. But in general, in terms of admissions or financial aid information, if you ask those questions, we'll direct you to the correct resources, but that is not what we do. We give a student perspective. We will end with a Q&A. We'll do our best to answer all your questions. We've never not answered almost all the questions, so don't worry about asking as many as you want. Just try to get them in as soon as possible so we have plenty of time to answer them. And with that, it is my utmost pleasure to introduce our two ambassadors for today.
Hi everyone, my name is Sara. I use the she, her, hers pronouns. I'm originally from San Diego, California, but right now I'm in Berkeley. I am a rising junior, so I'm going to be going into my third year here at Cal. I'm majoring in bioengineering and minoring in computer science. And outside of campus ambassadors and my major, I'm involved in the UC Rally Committee, which is a spirit group here on campus. I'm a researcher in the Doudna lab, so I'm researching gene editing. I'm actually doing that full-time this summer. I'm in the Biomedical Engineering Society, which is a club for students in my major, and Tau Beta Pi, which is the Engineering Honor Society.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Raven Gatson. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas, which is where I'm currently live broadcasting from. I'm in my childhood bedroom, teenage bedroom. I am a rising sophomore, so I'm entering my second year at Cal, and I am majoring in political science. My minor in English. We'll see what happens going forward. And I'm involved in the ASUC, which is the student government here on campus. I work with providing access education to other students and just mentoring them about the college experience. And I'm also involved in Greek life. I'm the head of recruitment for my sorority.
All right, so to get started here, I'll talk about some of these pictures on this overview slide here, and you should see a poll popping up on your screen asking like who you are, like where you're coming from for this tour, so we know what perspectives that we should cater to. So first you can see up in the top left is Cal Memorial Stadium and our football team. We have a Division I football team. We're in the Pac-12, and I really like going to football games. I appreciate the school spirit here at Berkeley, and I think that every freshman should go to at least one football game just to try it out. You know, go Bears. Below that, you see the logo for our 150 Years of Women at Berkeley campaign. We recently finished our celebration for 150 years of women being accepted into Berkeley, And there was a ton of cool researchers research projects and researchers working on like just the history of women in general. So if you want to check that out, go to 150w.berkeley.edu. And then next to that, you see one of my favorite buildings on campus. It's actually also my virtual background, the Hearst Memorial Mining Building. It's one of the buildings in the engineering section of campus where I spend a lot of time. It's the host of the Material Science and Engineering department, and it's just super beautiful. Then in the middle of the screen, you see Sturdy the Bear. This is one of our largest, or this is the largest bear statue on campus, and it's right outside of our football stadium from that earlier picture. And then lastly, on the right, you see a picture of some students hanging out on Memorial Glade. This is our big grassy area in the center of campus. It's a great place to hang out with your friends or have picnics or throw a Frisbee around, especially on our nice sunny days like we're having here in the summer.
All right, now we're just going to give you guys a quick overview of the agenda for today. We're going to be going over key topics, which include overview of Berkeley, academics, housing and dining, health and safety, student resources, student life, athletics, libraries and research, and remote learning. But please note that this is just a holistic overview of the school and that you're more than welcome to use the Q&A function to ask further questions, to delve in more. So yeah, just do not hesitate to use that Q&A function. We have lovely guys in the back end to answer your questions, as we already stated before. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get into these topics.
Okay, so first we're going to talk about a bit of the history of Berkeley. We were founded in 1868 as one of the land-grant universities, and we're the first University of California campus. And because we're the first one, we get to have a whole bunch of different names. So if you hear somebody referring to the University of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, Cal, just California, they're talking about us. We're first, so we get all the names. Our mascot is Oski, the golden bear. You can see him in the top left picture there. He comes to athletic events and rallies, of course, but also you can sometimes just see him walking around campus. My friend and I the other day were going to get boba and we're like, hey, look, that's Oski walking down the quad. Why is he here? I don't know, but it's always fun to see him and run up and take a selfie. We do have a pretty big campus. We've got almost 31,000 undergraduates and 11,500 graduate students. But it never feels super crowded. We have a lot of buildings, of course, to accommodate everyone. And I personally like that it's a really large campus because I feel like you can always make a big campus feel small and find a community within it, but you can't always make a small campus have the same kind of opportunities that a large campus like Berkeley is able to offer. And lastly, we have a couple historic landmarks on campus you can see in the pictures on the screen. Especially in the lower right, we have Sather Gate, which appears in a couple movies. If you've seen Monsters University, the gate in that movie was based on Sather Gate on campus. And this gate also shows up in Ant-Man and the Wasp, one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies.
I absolutely agree with Sarah about just spotting Oski in random spaces, even when I was back in Berkeley during the spring and it was like less students. But now we're going to transition into campus culture. And one of the major reasons why I decided to attend Berkeley, especially being an out-of-state student, was just researching and learning all of the different ways that Berkeley students and faculty have impacted the school. And that really kind of kickstarted back in the 1960s with the free speech movement led by Mario Savio. It's pictured in that top right-hand corner. And they led the charge in allowing students to not only uplift their own voices, but not have the school centralize into one narrative of like political speech and other various ways they wanted to express themselves. And that set the tone for college campuses all across the nation. And to this day, you see that same vigor that was set in the 1960s now with students protesting their own beliefs. I know that a lot of students are engaged in not only just politics, but in community engagement. And because of that, all of us have this unique ability of just leadership. It's pretty interesting. I just say like everyone who goes to Berkeley is kind of a natural born leader because everyone finds themselves in different spaces, and whether that be within the sciences or within political science or within math or architecture, everybody just leads the charge in wanting to make spaces as equitable and impactful as possible. And that kind of leads into the challenging the status quo, you know, not leaving things as they are, but including as many people as possible within the space that you're in. And then research and innovation, again, that's not limited to just the sciences or the engineering, but also within the social sciences, you know, innovating and researching ways that we can be more equitable when it comes to either psychology or other various topics. And also the second reason why I was really drawn to Berkeley, and I kind of realized these things once I was on the campus this past semester, was the community that we're involved in. Doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're an international student, out-of-state student, or within California, all of us are very connected, and you're just like a golden bear. It doesn't really matter where you come from or who you are. People are passionate about social justice. You can see at the bottom left-hand corner, that is our Pride 2019. And then just spirit and pride in general for our school and our campus, no matter what we're doing, whether it's athletics or somebody is going to go do a debate tournament. I just see stuff like that posted on Instagram all the time of people hyping up their friends. And yeah, just diversity and excellence. Public service is a huge thing on campus. There's so many ways you can get involved within the surrounding areas of Berkeley, including Oakland and San Francisco if you're into how do you say? Oh, just volunteering your time, volunteering. So if you're interested in volunteering or helping out the community in any other way, Berkeley is definitely the space for you.
Yeah, and just to continue on some of the stuff that Raven was talking about, we have some pictures of various aspects of campus culture. Up in the top left, you see a protest. We are a pretty politically active campus because students here are just pretty passionate about what they believe in. But if protesting is not your thing, that's fine. There's no pressure to protest, but it is available if you want to. And then directly below that, you can actually see the same place on campus, the Sprawl Steps, but this time we've got a spirit rally going on there. So we usually have those at noon before football games, and for, of course, for like big game week against our rival Stanford. That's personally one of my favorite aspects of Berkeley culture is the school spirit. So I really enjoy going to those rallies. Actually, on the right, you can see in the striped shirts, that's the rally committee, the club that I'm in that puts on those rallies for everybody. And then in the middle, you can see some different pictures of research, both in robotics and biology. Just as a big research university, there's tons of research going on here. Your professors will be doing research. And it means that there's a lot of opportunities to get involved with that as a student too, as well. You can always ask your professor in office hours about it, or go through our undergraduate research program, but I think we'll talk about that on a later slide.
Yeah, now we want to talk about what is happening now. As all of you know, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of the world, especially America. And so Berkeley had to really transition, as a lot of other college campuses did, into how they can provide their education as they were before. Now that students were moving back home and were stuck on their laptops, as I know a lot of you probably were experiencing. So access and scalability and the student tech program were major themes that Berkeley initiated. I know a lot of students who personally benefit from the STEP program, the student tech program, which allows students to rent laptops, drawing tablets, I believe Wi-Fi routers. So again, just recognizing that not everyone might have the same access to internet access or the same technology that other people have to be able to transition into that online learning environment. And of course, remote youth programs. I worked with the BRC, which is the Black Recruitment and Retention Center, on reaching out to other schools and high schools and teaching students about what it's like to apply to colleges, what to look for in their colleges, kind of the stuff that you all are doing right now, getting a head start on what you're interested in and what schools are piquing your interest. So that's been a big thing throughout this pandemic as well. Of course, COVID research, or at the top of that, trial testing, understanding how COVID impacts certain environments, how it's different from Oakland to San Francisco to other parts of the world. Berkeley has led that research and has obviously been involved throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And then advocacy and social justice, we've been talking about this for the past few slides, is a prevalent thing on campus. We do not tolerate hate, we do not tolerate racism and other forms of discrimination. So when you're on this campus, you really feel included. And in these later slides, we're going to talk about the programs that you can be involved in to find your community. And then obviously resilience, preventing trauma and burnout. Burnout is a big thing across college campuses. So we're also going to show you some programs in these next couple of slides that you can access as students here to kind of alleviate stress and prevent the burnout from happening.
Okay, so now we're going to start moving into our undergraduate colleges, and you should see a poll popping up on the screen asking you about what field of study you guys are interested in. So fill that out and we can talk about those colleges in the next couple slides. We have 5 undergraduate colleges here at Berkeley. The biggest one is the College of Letters and Science, where most things are. We have the Rouser College of Natural Resources, College of Environmental Design, the College of Chemistry, and the College of Engineering. And if you want to apply for a major in the College of Chemistry or the College of Engineering, make sure that you apply directly to those colleges. But then the rest of the 3, it's easier to transfer between them.
Okay, so now we're going to start off with the first college, which is the College of Letters and Science. This is my college, so I might be a little bit biased, but it holds 3/4 of the undergraduate population. So a lot of you will actually probably be in this college if you were to attend Berkeley. And there are 5 divisions. There's arts and humanities, biological sciences, mathematical and physical sciences, social sciences, and undergraduate studies. And all the professors within these 5 divisions are amazing. Even though I'm focused in the social science track, I have taken classes in arts and humanities and in biological sciences, and I've had a great time. And a lot of students will actually take classes within this college as well because they're taking care of their certain course requirements they have to take care of. So a lot of students, if they're not involved in this college directly and major within this college, they will take classes within this college. So as I said before, I've enjoyed all the professors I've had here. There are 80+ majors, so a lot of you might find that if you're in the College of Letters and Science, that if you're majoring, let's say in political science, you might take an English course or sociology and might find yourself double majoring or minoring. And then of course there's 17 out of the 25 Nobel Prize winners within this college. And yeah, the College of Letters and Science is amazing. I've enjoyed my time here, and obviously it's one of the biggest. So you have a lot of different experiences to meet different students, professors, and lots of opportunities here.
Yeah, well said, Raven. And even though I'm a bioengineering major in the College of Engineering, I've taken a couple classes in the College of Letters and Science for just my breadth requirements, and they've all been great. Okay, so next is our Rouser College of Natural Resources. And this is a bit of a smaller college, but it's a college that has a lot more of an environmental focus. So if you're interested in biological sciences, nutrition, ecosystem management, interdisciplinary studies, social sciences, or economics and policy, but through an environmental focus, this is the college for you. They're pretty hands-on. You can see in the picture there some research research on Strawberry Creek restoration project. So you can get hands-on sustainability experience in this college, and also a social justice focus as well. So I think this is pretty well summed up by this college's motto, which is see the bigger picture, make a better world.
Now we were at a small college. Now we're going to transition into the smallest college, which is architecture at the College of Environmental Design. It's the smallest college, and it has 4 majors, which is architecture, landscape architecture, urban studies, and sustainable environmental design. Our architecture program is top ranked. It's ranked number 4 globally. And what's so great about this college is I have a friend who is a major in architecture, and she says that the smaller environment allows you to be more interconnected with the students there. So they are probably more close-knit, have more close-knit circles than, let's say, the biggest college, which is Letters and Science. And their motto is craft ecologically sustainable and resilient, prosperous and fair, healthy and beautifully built environments. Their motto really sums them up because, kind of similar to the College of Natural Resources, there is a social justice focus. There's a focus on how can we make the designs we're building more equitable, how are we impacting the environment. So you're not just getting this straight up coursework for all of these majors, but you're also learning more about how it impacts the world globally, and how it affects people's environment. And yeah, it's definitely, even though it's the smallest college, it is top ranked, and there are lovely people within this college.
Next is the College of Chemistry, and this college is ranked number 1 globally. So there is literally no better place to study chemistry than Berkeley Chemistry. And I really like this college. As a bioengineering major, I've had to take a bunch of chemistry classes, like regular chem or organic chemistry, like engineering molecules, all kinds of stuff in the chemistry department. And all the professors here have been amazing. This college has about 1,000 students, and there's only 3 majors in this college: chemistry, chemical engineering, and chemical biology. And I do want to point out that chemical engineering is in the College of Chemistry, not in the College of Engineering. So make sure that if that's the major that you're interested in, you're applying to the correct college. Chemistry is really focused on innovation and research. We had 16 elements discovered here, including some named after the university, berkelium and californium. And that's a lot. That's like more than 10% of the periodic table. So go Bears, we're really good at chemistry. And we're really good at teaching chemistry too. The Lewis dot structure, which if you've taken any chemistry in high school, you're probably familiar with the schematic for figuring out how molecules bond with each other. That was invented by a Berkeley professor, Gilbert Lewis, when he was teaching his introductory chemistry classes.
And now we're on to engineering, which is Sara's college. This hosts 11 majors. Some of them include bioengineering, operations research, etc. It is recommended that you apply directly to this college as it is more difficult to transfer in. And with this college, as we've been talking about with the other ones, there's a humanities and social science breadth course that you will take, so you'll be holistic. In this college, there's also the MET program, which stands for the Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology program. Through this program, you're able to earn not only a college major within the College of Engineering, but also in Hearst, our business side. So it is amazing. All these majors are ranked top 9 globally. If you want to learn more about engineering, there's a separate engineering virtual visit tour that will go more in depth. As you can see, I mentioned MET. The MET class of 2022 is pictured in the top right-hand corner. And their motto is transform the lives of our students by preparing them to become successful leaders and innovators for positive change. Tons of famous people have come through this college. And as I said before, you can get various ways that you can engage in this college and majors through the MET program and other majors. But again, we just want to reiterate to apply directly to the engineering program if the some that you're interested in. And yeah, now we're going to transition into the next slide.
Yep, so next I'll talk about the graduate schools. I think from the poll, most of you guys were like prospective undergraduate students, so I'll just go through this slide quickly. Raven was just talking about the Haas School of Business and the MET program. This is one of our graduate schools that offers an undergraduate program through the Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology program. But we also have graduate schools of education, information. We have a law school, a school for social welfare, a school for optometry. I actually am participating in an eye study right now through the School of Optometry. So I'm having some like measurements taken of my eyes for some extra cash. That's a great thing to do in college, is be a research subject and make some money off of that. We have a School of Journalism, and then public health and public policy. But even though these are graduate schools, some of them offer classes for undergraduates. Like I took a class in the School of Public Policy that I really enjoyed as an undergraduate.
Sarah, I definitely need to look into optometry because, I haven't been using my reading glasses lately, so I will definitely look into that to be a research subject. But now we're going to transition to academics and structure and class sizes. So how Berkeley works is that you're going to have a lecture and you're going to have a discussion. So lecture is very similar if you're in high school to your day-to-day, what you learn actually in class time before the bell rings. And then your discussion is led by a graduate student instructor. And this is more of like your after school programs, learning, getting more in depth with your coursework, and you're usually with your GSI more often. You can ask more hands-on questions during this time versus lecture. However, both your professor and your GSI host office hours. So I highly recommend at the beginning of the semester, meeting with your professor, meeting with your GSI. They love for you to come and talk to them. So, just kind of getting familiar with that. So despite the school being very big, we do have a 19-to-1 student faculty ratio, and also 81% of classes are fewer than 50 students. I actually was in a class that had fewer than 50 students. It was my Korean 1A class that I took my first semester at Berkeley, and it was amazing. It was 15 of us, and the professor, there's only one professor, there was no GSI, and every day we studied Korean for like an hour, and she would correct us on the spot, and we just got really, really close with each other because obviously it's a very small class. So I highly recommend not only the language classes, but if you have the opportunity to take smaller classes, it's available for you, and it's a great time because you get to be more hands-on with your professor. And then, of course, as I was speaking on hands-on labs and studios, I know some students this past semester, despite the pandemic, were able to do some labs in person. And obviously, as we're transitioning out of the pandemic, that will be available for students at a greater opportunity. So also there's resources such as the Student Learning Center and individual advising. So I've used the SLC to help us go over my papers that I've written for my English classes. They're great over there. You're able to sign up. I know they have a program where they'll teach you how to write a paper for the whole semester. So they have a lot of different opportunities over there if you want to learn more. And then there's individual advising. Outside of just what you get from your GSI, there are tons of group chats you on Instagram. There's Loop Chat that was actually created by Berkeley students. There's GroupMe. There's also just text messaging. There are just so many ways for you to meet up with other students if you want to study. So yeah, just awesome academics and definitely tons of resources for you to be able to dive more into the subject matter.
Yeah, I totally second that with the group chats. I've definitely been in group chats for almost all my classes, and it's helped me put together study groups that make friends. I really recommend it. And that kind of ties into remote learning. For the past fall and spring, we've been fully remote, But now the campus has announced that we're going to be at least hybrid for the upcoming year. So hopefully this won't apply for as much for you guys. But during our virtual semesters, we still had to go to class. So we used Zoom Pro for our classes, which was great because then we didn't have to wait for the 40-minute Zoom time limit. We could have endless Zooms. So me and my study groups that I made from my online group chats, we were able to just stay on Zoom for hours going over material. I was in a really hard math class, so I spent a lot of time going over that with my friends this past semester. Also, our classes were both synchronous and asynchronous. There were some classes where it was like a traditional lecture where, at 11 a.m. your professor is on the Zoom, so you log in and you listen to the lecture. But there were also some that were asynchronous. I took a class that there were no live lectures, but the professor had put together a really comprehensive, step-by-step program where there would be 20-minute lecture recorded segments, and then we would watch a bit of a documentary and then read a research paper and then read a news article about the research paper. And I think it was a really enriching way to learn the material for that class. I thought it was great and a great way to just take advantage of the situation that we were all in this past semester. And of course, some of the resources that Raven was talking about earlier were also available online. So we had virtual drop-in tutoring and an instructional resilience program for professors and students to help bring all the class materials online for our semester in the cloud.
Yeah, now we're going to transition to housing and dining, but first we want to know where you're all joining us from. So we just kind of get an array of all of you in different time zones. I'm currently in the Central Time Zone. I see some people are also in the Central Time Zone. That's cool. California, Eastern Time Zone. Yeah, so we're all just kind of spread out, which goes to show Berkeley's impact and all the interests of joining the university, especially for me as an out-of-state student. So now transitioning into housing and dining. So there are residential halls and suites. These residential halls and suites include units 1 through 3, Clark Kerr, Foothills, Stern, and I hope I'm not missing one, but those are just some of the options for residential halls. And freshmen actually get priority for housing as long as at the end of your application for your 5th choice, you put any room, any location. That essentially ensures that you will get a housing offer. The resources that are offered through the residential halls is our residential assistants. They are your RAs. They make sure that they engage with the students on their floor, on various floors, checking in with them, making sure they're getting settled and following all the rules that are offered within that residential hall. And then there are theme programs. I have friends who are in the African American theme program. There is the Unity House for the LGBTQ students. And so there are tons of ways, again, as I was speaking on before, to find your community. And that's also included within housing, which I think is really, really cool. And there's common areas. I know I'm familiar with some of my friends were in residential halls this past semester. And I know they told me that they had study lounges, even though they were closed for this past semester because of COVID. They have study lounges. They have places, I think the downstairs areas where people throw away their trash and other various things within each floor within residential halls. And there's a meal plan included, which you can eat at different places on the campus. Not include this meal plan. There's different swipes. I think there's blue and gold. So yeah, just a little bit, I'm just touching on a little bit of that. I wasn't in residential halls. I actually lived off campus in Greek housing, but from what I heard, everyone is in residential hall. Actually, my friends who all live on the same floor in Unit 3 are now living in off-campus apartment this next semester. So you really get close with the people that you live with in these spaces. And then obviously during COVID-19, they had to adapt things to the pandemic and make sure students stayed as safe as possible. So they were in single rooms. They had no roommates. They wore face masks anytime they're in the hallway. And then they also were in social pods, as I was speaking on before. If you were on the floor, that was the only people that you can kind of engage with, just to stop the spread of COVID and to limit it. And also, it's not included on here, but just weekly testing, making sure that you're staying as healthy as possible and not spreading it to anybody.
Yeah, I was in on-campus housing this past semester, and the weekly testing was great. It made me feel really safe and sure that I wasn't spreading COVID around. So we also have other housing options for transfer and continuing students. So this is not where you'll live your first year, but if you want to continue to live in on-campus housing after your first year, you have a couple more options. You can live in campus housing, so you could live in the residence halls again after your first year if you want, but you could also live in on-campus apartments. I lived in one of them. I lived in Maximino Martinez Commons, which you can see in the lower right here. It was super nice. There's also the International House, which you can see in the upper left there. And then there's a couple affiliated properties with the university, like Blackwell Hall. And then you could also just live off campus. So that's where I'm living now. I lived in the dorms my first year, and then I lived in an on-campus apartment my second year. And then for my third year, I'm moving off campus to live with some of my friends from the rally committee. So, and then you could also live in a co-op, which is where students get reduced rent in exchange for doing household chores like cooking and cleaning. And there's Greek housing, so you could live with a sorority or a fraternity. And all of these options are great. I have friends that have done all of these, and everyone seems to be happy with wherever they're living. So it's really just what's best for your situation. And if you're living in one of these on-campus or off-campus apartments, you can still get a meal plan. And it's different from when you're living in the residence hall. So when you're in the residence halls, the meal plan is included. But if you're not living in a residence hall, you can pick how much of a meal plan you want. So like for me, last year when I was living in an apartment, I got half of a meal plan. So I cooked for myself half of the time, and then I could go to the dining hall half the time. And you can find more information about all these different options on housing.berkeley.edu, or just send a question in the Q&A.
And now we're going to transition into health and safety. Health and safety are big themes on campus, and we want to make sure all students are as healthy and safe as possible. So there's the UHS, University Health Services. Some resources that they have is urgent care, primary care, and physical therapy. I know I used urgent care at the end of the semester. I was feeling a little sick. They're able to run tests for me and check in on me. So urgent care is an option. Obviously, primary care and physical therapy for students are also an option. There's student health insurance program. It's called SHIP. And through that, it covers a lot of different expenses for you on campus, and it ensures that if you do not have insurance on campus, that you utilize SHIP so that if you need to go to the eye doctor or go to primary care or physical therapy or urgent care, that your expenses are covered in some sort of way. Of course, with COVID-19, COVID testing and tracing, my sorority house was actually like 1 minute away from the stadium, which is where they were offering COVID testing. So every day or every 2 days, or 2 days throughout the week, I would walk like a minute over to the stadium and I would get tested there. So I think that was pretty cool. And then FAQs, or webinars and tips. There are various ways that you can engage with asking questions about your physical health or your mental health through different webinars or FAQs, not only offered by professionals, but also offered by students. There's like sexual health courses that are offered as decal courses, which are courses that are led by students on campus. So those are also an option for you. There's psychological counseling and that a lot of students utilize, which is really big on campus to make sure that you're as much as you have to be physically healthy, you also have to make sure that you're mentally healthy. So those are also offered for students. And there's Path to Care program, which looks to rid the campus of sexual violence and partner violence and harassment through healing and prevention. So that is also something that is offered on the campus that we take very, very seriously. There's the Optometry Eye Center, which Sarah was talking about a little bit earlier with optometry. And then there's stress relief. As I was talking about before, there's burnout that can happen on college campuses, getting stressed out with your classes or the various programs that you're in. So we have Pause for Mental Health, where they basically bring out a bunch of dogs and people get to play with them. And there's Llama-Palooza, and that's actually pictured in the top right-hand corner. Again, just other ways outside of just your physical health, maintaining as much stress relief as possible, because your time spent on college campuses, especially here at Berkeley, wants you to be as happy and healthy as possible, and just enjoy your time and not just be completely full of stress. So yeah, some of the things that we offer.
Next, I'm going to talk about campus safety. So Berkeley is in a city. We're like right in the city. There's no barrier between the city and the campus. So it is important to be just aware of your safety. But luckily, Berkeley has a lot of safety resources available for students. So just in general, we have our own police department, UCPD. You can call them if you feel unsafe, and they'll come and address the situation. You can also call them from blue light poles, which you can see in the picture on the lower left here. There's always one of them within your line of sight. And if you feel unsafe, you can go to one of those and press the button, and UCPD will come to your location quickly and help you out. Outside of UCPD, we also have the Warn Me system. So if there's some area that you need to avoid, or just something that the campus needs to get to all the students, you can sign up for text message alerts on your phone. So if hey, I think we recently got one saying that, this road is going to be closed for the 4th of July, don't go up there because for fire safety reasons. And they sent out a text blast to everyone, and everyone's like, okay, good, we're aware and we can be safe on the 4th of July. Also in our residence halls, we have a 3-point security system. So there's always at least three points of entry for where you need to have a key or scan a badge, just to make sure that only students who are living in the residence halls and their guests that are like supposed to be there are able to get into the residence hall. Like for me, this past year when I was living in Martinez Commons, I had to scan my ID at the front door to get into the building. I had to scan my ID to get into the elevator or up the stairs. And then I had to use a key to get into my apartment. And then I had to use a different key to get into my individual room. So there was no way that anyone that wasn't supposed to be in there would be in my room at all. And then if you're walking at campus at night, we have our night safety shuttle, which is a bus that goes around campus and you can ride for free as a student. And then after a certain point at night, if you're like out super, super late, those basically turn into Uber, where you can call one of them and it'll drive you from where you are to your location. But if you're earlier than when the campus safety shuttles turn into Ubers, you can call Bear Walk, which is you'll have a student come with you that's been trained for safety that will just walk with you from like the library back to your dorm, for example. And I have a couple of friends who are Bear Walk. They're all super friendly and very chatty. So if you just don't want to walk alone or you want to have a friend on your way home, be sure to call those. And then outside of just like official safety things from the campus, I feel like the campus culture, like among the students, is really focused on safety. So for example, when I've had club meetings late at night, always after the club meeting, people will be like, hey, you know, here's the group going to Unit 3, here's the group going to Foothill. Make sure you walk together at night and just be safe in general.
Absolutely true what Sara said in terms of just everyone making sure that they're aware of safety. I've had tons of friends where I would text them and be like, it's kind of late, are you getting back? Do I need to walk back with you? So everyone's making sure they're attentive within the community of making sure everyone's safe. So I feel like that's really cute. And the next up is student development and student resources. So a major thing on campus is finding your community and honoring your identities and finding spaces where you feel the most accepted in. There's Centers for Educational Justice and Community Engagement. There's also the Associated Students of the University of California, which I'm a part of. It hosts all the different types of students within different majors that focus on different issues, whether that be equitability within certain majors or providing more access to education or information to high schools, lower income high schools. One of the programs that I have really used to find my community and through my identity is the Equal Opportunity Program. So there's a program on campus that automatically you're accepted into, which I had no idea about, but if you're in an underrepresented minority, a low-income student or a first-generation student, you're automatically in the program. And through this program, they have different advisors that can help you with your schedule, ways to navigate your finances, how to kind of cope with burnout as a first-generation student or stress. So they have tons of different programs within EOP, and I'm so thankful for that department because I was able to not only kind of plan out my schedule, but meet other people who were in the same identity groups as I was in. And there's a Transfer Student Center, the Undocumented Students Program. Also, the Documented Students Program works very closely with EOP, so I've also met students through there. Another program that I was been a part of this past year is the Black Recruitment and Retention Center. As I mentioned before, we would talk to high school students, but also BRRC was just great at engaging with Black students and making sure that they were comfortable. They would send us care packages because my first semester I was actually back home here in Texas. I was not actually physically on the campus, but they still send us like t-shirts and like rally, like the little pom-poms you use at football games. It was really, really cute. And just making sure that we feel accepted within the community. And again, support and equity, the Disabled Students Program, the Basic Needs Center. I know a ton of people who have worked in the Basic Needs Center. They have donated through there. And just again, there are spaces for you here on this campus if you feel like they aren't, whether you're an out-of-state student, whether you're a minority student, whether you're LGBTQ plus student, there are tons of spaces and communities for you to feel accepted, to feel cared for, to feel looked after. So Berkeley is not just all academics. It also focuses on you as an individual and what you care about the most and who you are. So yeah, those are some of the resources that we have here on campus for you all. And if you want to learn more, I'm sure you can look up on Berkeley's official website. And if you want to talk to other students further, they would love, I know I talked to students before about certain programs like the ASUC, and they answered all my questions. So just don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah, definitely reach out if you're interested in anything. Everyone here at Berkeley is happy to talk to prospective students. Okay, and then beyond academics, we have a ton of stuff going on with student life. As a big campus, there's lots of opportunities and campus is always hopping, especially this coming year when we're going to be back in person. I think that it's going to be like super busy everywhere and it's going to be great. We have over 1,000 registered student organizations. Those are just our clubs. There's a bunch of different kinds of clubs. You could join like social clubs, academic clubs. I highly recommend joining a club, whatever type of club you want to join. And if for some reason you can't find a club here that you like, it's super easy to make your own club. You just need a couple of friends and an idea, and you can register a club with the ASCC. And I think similar to most colleges, at the beginning of the semester, we'll have a big club fair where all the clubs bring their tables out onto Sproul Hall and like hand out flyers to recruit new students. Also, there's a lot of volunteering available on campus. We touched on this a bit earlier, but just in the local area, there's a ton of volunteering. And we also have one of the registered student organizations puts on the Berkeley project, which is like a campus-wide volunteering project for the year. I know a couple of people who have been involved in that and say they really, really enjoyed it. You can be employed on campus. So all of the campus ambassadors that are here with you today, we're all employed through the university. But you could also work in a residence hall, you can work in a mailroom, you can work in the dining hall, you can work in a library. There's a ton of different ways to have jobs on campus. And then also you can get jobs off campus too through the Career Center, which is super helpful. They put on a lot of like internship and job fairs and different workshops for like resume building and networking and interviewing that are really helpful. And I highly recommend checking them out. I've used a couple of them myself and I thought they were great. And because we're in the Bay Area, this is a great place to get internships. We're close to San Francisco, we're close to Silicon Valley, and we're a good school. So all those companies that are in San Francisco and the Silicon Valley come to Berkeley and try to recruit Berkeley students. So I have friends who have interned at Apple, who interned at Amazon, who interned at Uber. I have a lot of friends in tech, so those are the kind of places that they're going. But it's definitely a great place to be for job and internship opportunities. You can also study abroad. One of my friends studied abroad in Spain and really loved her experience there. One of my friends is going to try to go to France this upcoming semester. So if you want to go abroad, Berkeley has that opportunity available for you. And then of course, just being in the Bay Area, being near San Francisco, being near Oakland, there's a lot of just things to do in the area that are super fun. So you don't have to stay on campus all the time. You can go out and explore the area during your time in college.
Now, I know we talked a lot about academics, which is valued on this campus and is great, but also we value our athletics. We are a Division I school, which means that within the NCAA, we are at the top level of competition. And there's also a side of Division I sports. We have club and intramural sports. I know a couple of my friends have done club sports or intramural sports, and they say that they're fun. It's a good way to exercise and engage with your peers. So if you are playing a sport in high school and you don't want to necessarily go Division I, but you want to keep engaging with it, there are club and intramural options with hundreds of students involved in them. We have our legendary California Memorial Stadium. As I mentioned before, I was like a minute walk, my sorority house like a minute walk from the stadium. So it was actually kind of funny because a bunch of freshmen, when we would get tested, you can kind of see a little bit through like this glass area of what the stadium looked like. And it was so funny because we were like spaced out and we would try to kind of peek over and look and get a peek at the stadium, which I think is really funny. But now we're entering in and hopefully we'll be able to actually enter the stadium and not have to peek through this little glass door. There's Hospice Pavilion, which hosts our basketball team, our volleyball teams. It's pictured in the bottom right-hand corner over there. We have a recreational sports facility, or the RSF. There was also COVID testing happening over there. But they also opened up at the end of the semester for students to work out at. They have treadmills, you can lift weights, tons of different equipment there. I just run outside typically, but if you're more of a treadmill type of person or Stairmaster, then that's an option for you. And Berkeley's athletics are so amazing that we have over 207 Olympic medals. I don't know if some of you have watched the swimming trials recently, but we had, I think, about like 3 former Cal students actually qualify for the Olympics. So that'll be really great. And this next month, you get to watch them play. And I'm sure there's probably a ton of other Cal students that I didn't catch in other sports who will also be representing us. So as we see in the bottom left-hand corner, the Cal swim team. So yeah, our athletic programs are just as valuable as our academic programs, but be rest assured that even if you are in an athletic program or if you are playing Division I, that you still are going to be getting a holistic education and the best education. So yeah, they definitely are balanced. One is not above the other.
I'm so excited for athletics. They just announced that the Memorial Stadium is going to be full capacity for football in the fall, and I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, so now I'll talk about building community in our remote semesters. So we talked about this a little bit before, but we've got a lot of social media networks going on. We have, of course, like group chats for classes, like on Discord or Slack or Messenger or Loop Chat. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can be connected to students in your class. But also, I'd say one of the essential Berkeley experiences is being involved on our meme page. So if you're not on Facebook already, you should make yourself a Facebook account and join UC Berkeley Memes for Edgy Teens and Overheard at UC Berkeley, because those are just ways to get like campus news but filtered through a meme lens that I really appreciate. Also, we have our student groups doing things online. For me, I was in the rally committee, so this past semester, even though things were online, we still had meetings and we still had rallies. We just did them virtual. We had like online social hours and just adapted our normal activities to the online semester. And then on the more academic side, a lot of departments had webinars. So webinars for professional development, but also guest lectures. We had Dr. Fauci come and give a lecture to the university online. Super cool because he's been a big player in this whole year. And it was interesting to hear him speak. And then lastly, our orientation, Golden Bear orientation, or GBO, was online this past year, but we still had all the same like advising and preparation and networking activities that are an essential part of orientation.
And now we're going to transition into libraries and research. So we have 24 official libraries on campus. Picture in the top left-hand corner is Doe Library, and the grassy area is the Glade. I've been on the Glade, I think this past semester, over 20 times. It's actually pretty cool because if you stand in the middle of the Glade-ish, you can actually see pointing, I forgot, I'm really bad directions. But if you stand at a point of the Glade, you can see over 3 different libraries, which I think is really, really awesome. There's 13 plus million volumes, and it doesn't just extend to physical copies, but there's also extensive online resources. Professors in my class, if we were unable to get a physical copy, they would actually link the online resources for us through Berkeley. You would just type in your student information, and then you could get the online book for free. So I think that's pretty cool. And then there's research. We have the Undergraduate Research Apprenticeship Program. This is offered within a variety of majors. You apply early before the semester, and you can work underneath the professor for a semester, or I think you can even upwards to a year. There's also just departmental opportunities within each major, within each program that are specific. So tons of ways you get involved in research, tons of ways if you want to have areas to study on campus. I know they opened up, I think it was Moffett Library at the end of the semester, and it was so funny because a bunch of students signed up through the link and were able to study on Moffett. It was spaced out, obviously, but it was just a taste for freshmen to kind of get used to that library studying life and hopefully get to engage with it more the upcoming semester. But yeah, tons of research, tons of libraries to be able to study in and get your information from. So this is stuff that we offer here.
Yeah, and going off of that, we have a couple famous alumni and professors that have gone here. Starting off with Stephen Chu, the former US Secretary of Energy, who also won a Nobel Prize, and Jennifer Doudna, who won a Nobel Prize in this past year. Jennifer Doudna, I actually know her. I work in her lab. She's super cool, and I feel like really honored to be working on the stuff that just won a Nobel Prize. It feels like super cool, and where else could you do that but at Berkeley? But we don't just have famous scientists here. We also have famous authors like Beverly Cleary, who wrote the Ramona Quimby books, if you read those as a younger child. We have some famous actors like Chris Pine and Janisha Adams Grignard. We have Steve Wozniak, who went here, one of the co-founders of Apple, and a lot of the rooms in the computer science building are named after him because he's a super famous computer science alumni. And we also have famous athletes that have come from Berkeley, like Alex Morgan, who is part of the Women's World Cup winning team.
And now we're going to show some campus highlights. So what I think is really interesting or fascinating about Berkeley is the difference between the nature environment that's present on the campus and the urban environment. So if you're coming from a more urban environment or city environment like myself, it's very refreshing to see that, but also to just be within nature, not to diss on San Antonio, but we don't have like big redwood trees or forests. So it's been really calming to kind of walk through campus and just see nature, walk through Strawberry Creek, and the trees and the wildlife are just phenomenal and beautiful. So I think that's really awesome if you are coming, whether it's from more of a rural area or coming from more of an urban environment. Berkeley is a great mixture of those two things. You can literally go from studying within the nature or on a trail to just being right into the downtown Berkeley. And then of course, there's some campus highlights shown here. The Berkeley squirrel. Now, I did not know this before I came here, but the squirrels are very attentive and they might come up to you. And I realize now it's because that we feed the squirrels. So they're friendly, but they will like walk underneath the tables and just kind of just sit there and not be phased, which is completely different from where I'm from, where squirrels will literally start bolting running when you come up near them. And then, of course, the Bay Area sunset's beautiful. I remember so many times I would sit at the Campanile on the steps and just watch the sunset. And then, of course, there's just the Strawberry Creek picture in the bottom right-hand corner. So that good urban and rural mix, if that's something that you're interested in, is present on the Berkeley campus. All right, and now we're going to transition into our Q&A section.
Awesome. So if you want to unshare your screen, thank you both so much for a wonderful tour. Y'all killed it. Like, I'm just going to give you a little round of applause. I'm sure that's what you'd be doing if we were in person right now, but nonetheless, I will do that for you. So first and foremost, in terms of questions, we got a question asking, what type of teaching does Berkeley offer? Is it seminar-based, lecture-based? Generally, just what have your classes looked like, and what have you enjoyed most about them? If you also want to touch a little bit on your workload as a bioengineering student, this question's for you, Sara.
Okay, yeah. So I think really it's a little bit of both for like lecture or seminar based. For me personally, I've been in a lot of like really large lower division like math and science classes because I'm a bioengineering major. So for me, what my classes have looked like is generally I'll have a lecture either twice a week or 3 times a week with the professor in a big lecture hall. So like, for example, my biggest class was 2,000 people of computer science, like the intro to computer science class. That was crazy. But luckily, it's not just those big lectures. We also have smaller sections with your graduate student instructor or GSI. So even in that big class where I had 2,000 people in the lecture, my discussion section was only like 25 to 30 people. And that was more like seminar or question and answer based. The GSI would like put questions on the board and we would do them and then like talk amongst each other or talk amongst ourselves on how to like solve those particular computer science questions. Also, as a bioengineering major, I've taken a couple lab classes. So I took chemistry lab or organic chemistry lab, and I'm going to take synthetic biology lab in the future. And those worked where there was like a 1 hour lecture once a week just for the professor to go over what the experiment was. But then we would go into the lab and we'd have a graduate student instructor in there. And for me, those labs are pretty long. So it was like 4 hours where we could do the experiment hands-on. Usually you would have a lab partner and we, mix chemicals and look through the microscope and all those lab type class things. Some of my friends who are electrical engineering majors have had a bit of a different experience in labs where instead of doing chemistry like I was doing, they were building circuits in their labs, even online. Their classes sent them a box of lab materials and then they could do those labs from home. And then for what I've enjoyed most about my classes, I just think the professors are really good here because it's just everyone here is at the top of their field. So they're all also doing really interesting research on the side. So I know everybody says go to office hours, but like we really mean it. Actually go to office hours. I went to office hours a ton my first year when we were in person. And I got to like really interact with my professors and hear about their research. And in that 2,000 person class, there was never more than like 5 people at office hours. It was crazy. Definitely go. So don't be just a face in the crowd, go to office hours and take full advantage of the high quality professors that we have here at Berkeley.
Definitely agree with go to office hours. Like that is the single best piece of advice I feel like anyone can give you. And of course, very few people actually follow through with it. So don't beat yourself up if that's not what you end up doing. But I promise you when you go, it's super, super helpful. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Sara. Definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's a fun adventure, I would say, with classes, but don't worry about, feeling lost or feeling overwhelmed by the large classes. There's always ways to make it feel smaller. So the next question's for Raven, which is, what kind of student would you say the typical Berkeley student is? What does a UC Berkeley student look like, especially as, these students are all of our visitors are going into the admissions process? If you could kind of just talk about what your experience with that has been, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question and dare I say a loaded question, because what a UC Berkeley student looks like might be different from what they're actually like. So I think a lot of perceptions of UC Berkeley students are hardcore, academic driven, very detail oriented, focused on one thing or one specific aspect of their education. But if I can just describe a UC Berkeley student, is not only that it varies, it's not, you'll find almost every different type of person at Berkeley, every different type of student. But if I could just just like mix Berkeley students into a pot, the first ingredient I would add is probably engage. So whether that's engaged in the classroom or engaged outside the classroom, community focused, knowing that things are bigger than them, knowing that there's a future generation coming after us, and there's a generation before us who kind of laid the groundwork. So I would say the first ingredient is kind of engaged. The second is just connection to community. I feel like a lot of people are connected to their community, whether it's back home or once they're on the campus, being hyper aware of how they're engaging with others, volunteering, making sure that not just themselves are taken care of, but others are taken care of. And then lastly is just somebody who is just not afraid to challenge the narrative and to do as best they can every day. And whether that be through their classes, again, as I said, or just through their programs that they're engaged with. So if I could just describe a UC Berkeley student, it's anybody who's passionate, all the things I said before, but since there's so many different students coming international, out of state, within the state, you're gonna get a wide array of people. So there's not just one specific type of Berkeley student. I would say all types of people are here on this campus. And I think that's what makes Berkeley so great, is that it's a diverse array. You're not gonna just get one type of person. So hopefully that gives you all of you a little bit of like what a Berkeley student's like. I know it's vague, but it's just so many different types of people on this campus.
100%. Could not have said that better myself. I think that, in terms of all of you who are applying for college soon, think of how you fit into that, and really just try to show that you're passionate in your application. I think that's the biggest thing, at least that I've seen, as Raven said. So if you can convey that, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna do great. Like, there's not a specific format you have to follow or anything. Just show that you're passionate and that you care. So go Bears to that. Unfortunately, we are coming towards the end of our Q&A. I have one question left for both of you. We'll start with Sara. What is your Berkeley story? Why did you choose to go to Berkeley? Also, if you want to talk a little bit about what your favorite parts of Berkeley are as well, just leave that in there. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think my favorite parts of Berkeley weave really well into my Berkeley story. So for me, Berkeley was always, like, in high school, it was always my secret dream school, because it's everything I ever wanted in a college. It's far enough away from home, but not too far away. It's really good for my program. It's really good for engineering. It's in a super cool area. There's lots of research here. Like, it was everything I wanted, right? But it's got kind of a scary reputation, so I didn't think I could get in. So I told everyone, like my friends, my family, even myself, that I actually wanted to go to a different school. But whenever I was picking classes, I needed to know like what requirements I needed to fulfill for the colleges that I was doing. I would always like Google what Berkeley wanted, because really this is where I wanted to go. So then, college acceptances roll around and I get an acceptance to Berkeley, but I get an acceptance to Berkeley at a time like different from the regular acceptance day. So I thought it was an email scam. I thought somebody was trying to steal my credit card information by like playing with my heart, saying that I got into Berkeley, but it turned out to be true. And I was so excited. But then I had to pick, like, do I want to go to Berkeley or do I want to go to that other school that I've been saying I want to go to for all of high school? And really what made me pick Berkeley is also now my favorite parts of Berkeley. I came to an overnight program and my host was just so passionate about what she was doing. Like we were talking about earlier, she talked my ear off about energy engineering, and she did it while she was wearing Oski socks that like came up to her knees. I love Berkeley school spirit. I'm super involved in it. I really love to like wear blue and gold and yellow Go Bears. So I really like thought in that moment that I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be super passionate about what I was doing, and I wanted to be involved in the school spirit and love my school. I wanted to be around people like that, and I wanted to be somebody like that. And now I've come to Berkeley and I am around people like that all the time, and I've never regretted it. I think it's the best part of Berkeley.
Heck yeah, go Bears. What about you, Raven?
So yeah, my story is a little bit different. Coming out of state, there's tons of options in my state. And the access to different applications on my school was very limited, or the knowledge of it. So I kind of went into everything with limited knowledge. I learned about the UC application. I learned about Berkeley. I put it on there and I was like, you know what, I'll go for it. It's a top university. You can never go wrong for going for it. And then as applications were rolling out and the acceptances were rolling in, I was getting kind of denied at some places I thought I was getting into. And the school I actually was focusing on, the UC application, I believe I got waitlisted on. So So once it came around to that day, I think it was Ivy Day, and Berkeley was the first letter that I got. And I remember just bawling my eyes out that I got into Berkeley, because it was always been my dream to go to an out-of-state school and go to a school that's just a top university, and that would value me. And the only thing though, that the major parts of Berkeley that really drew me was the community. So I saw an anonymous question asked was like for me being a Black student, and that was the first thing I did as when I looked into. I talked to Black students who were on the campus. I DM'd them. I asked them, their experiences, asked them what programs I can be involved in, and just they also have a scholarship program that I'm involved in for Black students. So the biggest parts of Berkeley that I value are just the community orientedness, the connectiveness, and then obviously the amazing education. So my path to Berkeley, being an out-of-state student, was kind of on a whim a little bit. I heard of Berkeley, but it wasn't directly in my psyche. And then Berkeley just became my school once I talked to all the students and learned more about it. So if you're out of state or if you're questioning it, keep doing your research, keep learning more, engage with students who are on the campus, and you'll figure out if Berkeley's your home, and I hope it will be.
Heck yeah. Love both your stories. They both, make me feel so warm about Berkeley in general. I love going to school here. So go Bears to that. Give me a sec. I'm having some technical difficulties. Cool. So contact us. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. This is all the ways you can contact us. I know I certainly would be wanting to learn more after Sara and Raven gave such a great introduction and got me super excited. We have our UVisit tour, uvisit.com/Berkeley. That's kind of like getting to walk around campus virtually if you can't make it yourself to campus. It is now open to the public, which is really awesome. We're now allowing people on campus. We do have a self-guided tour. We're not currently giving tours in person, but stay tuned for that. We will be giving in-person tours very soon. So please make sure to follow us on Instagram at Visit UC Berkeley to stay updated with that information. We'll make sure that you all are the first to know. Email tour@berkeley.edu and a student ambassador will answer your question. If for whatever reason you in an hour or 2 hours or 2 weeks think of a question that you want answered, we got you. We're always here, always ready to answer your questions. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about some of the more anecdotal parts of Berkeley, we have our Bear Talk blog, beartalk.berkeley.edu. It's a place where campus ambassadors talk about anything Berkeley related they feel like. It's totally up to them what they want to talk about, and we've got some really interesting stories there, so please check those out. If you're interested in seeing more virtual visits, seeing some more campus ambassadors talk about their experiences, we have different recorded virtual visits available on our YouTube channel at Visit UC Berkeley. It's the same kind of thing throughout everything. So please check that out. We also had 150 Years of Women recently. Please check out how we celebrated that, 150w.berkeley.edu. Some campus ambassadors were involved in that, so check it out, see the incredible work that they did. We also had admissions presentations. I know a lot of you are applying for college pretty soon. Check that out. Register as soon as possible if you still can, because I know those fill up very, very fast, so please get on that. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Lastly, we have other ambassador student panels and engineering visits if you're interested for registering for those. The student panels and engineering visits are both fantastic. I cannot recommend them enough. They're just slightly different looks at UC Berkeley. So thank you all so much. Please contact us. Lastly, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank our 2 ambassadors for giving a fantastic tour. As always, y'all always kill it. Thank you to our panel, our back-end ambassadors, for answering all these wonderful questions. And thank you to you, our visitors today. We really can't do this without you. We're so grateful that you decided to spend your time with us today. It was really our pleasure and our privilege. So with that, we're going to end how we end everything at Berkeley. Raven and Sara, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to tell you. So I'll count down and then we'll go off. So on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Go
Bears!
Bears!
Thank you everyone so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.